Hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And the world doesn't really like female leaders. I think that's probably putting it mildly. I think the world probably hates female leaders a lot more than they do men. So let me just run through what I've thought in my head. A couple of years ago, I think it was when Hilary Clinton was she was running in her last race. So obviously she lost. And besides her loss, which one might say, well, she lost. What's the big deal? Well, in that same year, the president of Brazil was convicted, and I think she might still be in jail. Now, I think she was Brazil's first leader. And you say, okay, well, what's her name didn't win, and the president of Brazil was convicted of corruption. What's the big deal? Well, the president of Korea, I think it's that country's first female leader, was also convicted of corruption. So now are you seeing a trend now? At that same time, in that same year, Argentina had a female leader, and I think she was out of office, but the leadership at the time was suggesting that she might be brought up on corruption charges. So you say, okay, well, maybe women are just more corrupt. Okay, well, what about Theresa May? Theresa May is out of office now. She tried several times to bring up the necessary legislation in order to achieve Brexit. She tried several times to bring that up. She tried a general election in order to get more of a mandate from the people. None of those things worked. Eventually, she gave up. Boris Johnson came in and tried to do very, very similar things to what she did. He called a general election. He got overwhelming support. I would venture that he got even more support than Theresa May had before she called a general election and lost support. I think he's also gotten to push through the things that she was not able to in her general election when she went to Parliament. So isn't it kind of weird? That is really kind of weird that she would be trying to do the same thing, and the very next person who comes up, overwhelming support for someone who we would say was, in many instances, people are not very charitable to Boris Johnson. And you could say Theresa May was a lot more conducive, suitable for the office, and yet he got all this support. So you say, okay, maybe you're just cherry picking, Earthling. Maybe it is that things aren't that bad. Okay, well, let's look at India for a moment. India had a female leader, Indira Gandhi. She was assassinated. Well, I think, maybe India had other leaders that were assassinated. Well, isn't it funny that Benazir Bhutto, a former leader of Pakistan, she went back to Pakistan and was interested in running to become the leader again. Only she didn't get the chance. She was blown up. So, yes, that is a little bit, in the past. It's not as recent as Hilary Clinton and the Brazilian leader and the Argentinian leader and Theresa May. But I don't think, I get the impression that the world, as I said at the top of the article, the world really doesn't like female leaders. I mean, how many female leaders do you have to have for two of them to have been assassinated, yes, it's a rough area, Pakistan and India. But that's kind of, you know. And if we look at it, I would say that there are two prominent female leaders that we can look at. One would be Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, who it is said took voice lessons to deepen her voice so that people would respect her more. I don't know if that's for fact. Of course, she's gone. We can't ask her. And even if she was alive, I don't know that she would want to share that necessarily. And of course, there's Angela Merkel. She has been in office in Germany for quite a long time. I don't want to read too much into it, but obviously at this stage, if you're not up to date, she's not going to run again. She's pretty much on her way out. She was up for election to be the head of her party as well as the head of the country. And in order to get what she wanted, she had to agree not to be the leader of the party, but just to continue to be the leader of Germany. And she also had to give up the fact that she would put herself up to be leader again. So she's out at some point. I don't know if it's this year or next or whenever, but her term is at an end. But, you know, in another video, I would have spoken about the fact that from a genetic or reproductive point of view, women put so much effort into having kids. You know, it's their bodies that get wrecked to have these kids. And, you know, for a man can order, quote unquote, you know, as many kids as he has the stamina to inseminate women with in a given period of time. And then he can walk off and get, you know, a safe dropped on his head, and these kids are on the way. A woman only can have one kid. Well, not one. Of course, she can have twins, but that's really unlikely. You know, I don't know what the percentage is, but really, a woman can really expect one kid every 9 months to a safe extent. And still, of course, a woman can die from having kids, right? It's not a high percentage, but it's there. When you add in all these things, women have a really compelling reason to devote more of their energy and their time towards their offspring than a man does. And that's their point of view. I don't know if Merkel has children or not, or Thatcher for that matter. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the U.S. Supreme Court Justice, I believe she has children. And that's another thing. I mean, in order for a woman to be a leader, her spouse has to be willing to take a back seat. So it's really not, it's a difficult thing for a woman to rise to. It's a difficult thing for a woman to rise to leadership of a country or even of a company for that matter. But that said, I hope I've provided enough examples to suggest that I mean, let's look. This is one other thing that I wanted to bring up. I have never heard, of course, Donald Trump is a very unique event, I would say. But there's a chant that says lock her up. I mean, who else has he suggested should be locked up? And given the examples that I have presented with respect to Brazil's female president, I have not heard Donald Trump. I mean, right now he has Biden. He wants Biden's son to be investigated, but really he wants Biden to be investigated. But I have not heard any chant about lock him up. Hilary Clinton had a chant made about her, which was lock her up. The president of Korea was locked up. The female president of Brazil was locked up. The Argentinian former president or prime minister was being investigated for corruption herself. And this was all within the space of a year. I mean, women leaders are already rare. I'm sure that, and to give you an example, the former leader of Brazil was in prison before the male leader, before the female that I'm speaking about entered prison. He's now out. He's out, and people want him to lead the country. Unfortunately, he can't. I don't think he was allowed to run. And the current leader of Brazil, Bolsonaro, I can't remember his name. Sorry for butchering it. But he's the leader. But the point is, the guy who one would say was the mentor of the female that may be in prison at this point, he was in jail. He got out of jail, and people were pushing for him to lead again. And I have not heard of the female leader again. But my point is, people seem to really hate, I mean, across the world. Korea is progressive. The US should have been progressive enough to elect Hilary Clinton. As a matter of fact, more people wanted her to be elected than not. But not enough in the right states. Maybe in her case it's luck, but I don't know that it's luck. I don't know really that it is luck. There was a minor controversy, maybe it's still ongoing, maybe it might continue to go on, that Bernie Sanders had told Elizabeth Warren in the US that a woman couldn't win. And I don't know that, I don't know that he's wrong. Well, he says he didn't say it, but yeah, it might be something that somebody might lie about. It's possible that she made a mistake and she misunderstood. I've had that happen lots to me. At the same time, it's also possible that he said it and it's something that he doesn't want people to think that he thinks. But, given everything that I've mentioned, I think it's tough to be a woman leader. I think you have to watch your back doubly. Women really are minorities. And it's funny that you can be a minority when you're half of the people out there. It means that other women are against you as well. Isn't that crazy? But I think that's the case for many minorities. Many minorities experience that kind of self-hate or whatever. But anyway, this was something I just wanted to put out there. And hey, as usual, like, unlike, comment, subscribe, and or share. Appreciate it. Peace.